Hey guys, if you've seen my other videos in the past, you're probably a little bit confused as to why the title of the video is what it is, but I've decided to steer my channel into a more TV review channel. I want to say that I'm going to do movie reviews in the future. I'm not entirely sure about that right now. My time doesn't really allow me to go to a movie theater for the premiere or during like the first day or two of the showing, being someone who's a father and has a full-time overnight job doesn't really allow me to do that. Anyways, for now, that's really all I have to say about it. So Castle Rock. If you haven't heard of it, Castle Rock is a show based on the books by Stephen King. Despite it being based off the books of Stephen King, it's actually not based on any particular book of Stephen King. It's kind of just based on the setting of where a lot of these books take place. From my understanding, it's supposed to be set as an anthology series, which means it's going to be telling a different story every season. Which for me, that's what I love the most about this series, is that it feels like something he would have wrote. This genre is classified as a horror, but I wouldn't say that. I'd say it's more of a dark sci-fi mystery. Alright, so quick synopsis of the story before I get to the pros and cons of it all. So there's this mysterious guy. Throughout the show, they call him the Kid, which I think was a little odd considering he's not a kid. Anyways, the Kid, who's being played by Bill Skarsgård, who has been secretly held captive for several years by the warden of Shawshank Prison. And after finally being discovered, he requests to speak with Henry Deaver, a Texas lawyer played by Andre Holland. Little is known about the Kid besides the fact that he's strange and wherever he goes, chaos and death seem to follow. So let's start with the pros. The performance by Bill Skarsgård is phenomenal. I'm still not 100% sure about him as an actor because I haven't seen enough of him. The only thing I've ever really seen him in is It and Castle Rock. I'm sure he has other stuff that I just haven't been able to see. I'd love to see more work of him in the future. I feel like he has a very bright future ahead of him. If Castle Rock and It are any indication, this guy has the potential to be one of the biggest paid actors in Hollywood. Everyone else in this, including Andre Holland and I think her name is Melanie Liskey, they're both really great, but I honestly feel like Bill Skarsgård just stole the show for me. The other thing that I really enjoyed about this was the cinematography. And I could be wrong, but I feel like this was also filmed with a lot of natural light, which I really dug. I also really liked a lot of the music choices, especially during a lot of the suspenseful scenes. One scene in particular that I really liked because of the music was a scene where, I'm not going to get into spoiler territory, but basically there's people dying left and right, and it's a really dark scene, but they play happy, uplifting music behind it. And I know that's kind of an overdone concept, a lot of movies, TV shows have already done it, but I feel like this scene in particular used it really effectively. Now the cons. The biggest con for me was the pacing issue. For me, pacing becomes an issue when I'm watching a show and I can love one episode and then the next episode, it's just completely boring, a snooze fest, whatever you want to call it. It's just not very interesting. There's not a lot going on, and I feel like this show had a lot of episodes like that. And I really think that boils down to just inconsistent storytelling. The best way that I can personally explain it is that this show is a lot more style over function. Beautiful cinematography, great acting performances, but everything else kind of just falls flat. Don't get me wrong, there's a lot of good scenes, a lot of suspenseful scenes that I felt were executed well, but besides the suspenseful scenes, there's just not an interesting story. And I don't even care if there's really any suspenseful scenes in the show. I really just care if there's an interesting story to tell, and I feel like this one kind of didn't. And this show has a lot of potential. It has an interesting premise. The plot should work, but it just takes too long to get there for me. Then there's the finale. I'm going to keep it vague because I want to avoid any spoilers. But the ending to this freshman season is underwhelming to say the least. I actually enjoyed most of it, but by the time we reach the ending credits, I feel like we're right back to where we started from the very beginning of the series. Nothing was properly resolved. It makes you ask all these questions throughout the entire season, and you think you might have some answers scattered throughout there, and then they throw all that away by leaving it kind of vague, and they make you go into one direction. They even dedicated an entire episode to that direction, and then the finale kind of tells you something else. And that'd be fine if this wasn't an anthology series, but it is. I don't know if they're ever going to go back to the story, and if that's how it's left, then it's going to upset me a lot because this is basically a mystery, and a mystery that never actually gives you any answers. Then what's the point of watching it? I'm hoping I'm wrong. I'm hoping that even though it's an anthology series, maybe they'll bring some aspects of the show back, or who knows, maybe they'll bring the Kid back. Maybe the Kid is something that's going to be consistent in every single season. And if so, if that's kind of the way that we have to unravel exactly what the Kid actually is, then that's fine. But as for now, if that's how they leave it, then I mean they answered nothing. And I'm all for shows leaving it ambiguous. But when you have a show that is basically, the premise is a mystery, and then you answer none of it, you know, it's disappointing. My overall view of this is, if you like Stephen King's work, if you like good cinematography, good acting, and if you have a Hulu subscription even, I think this is a show that you might like. It's not by any stretch of the imagination a bad show. It's not. But there's so many little issues in the story that I can't get past, that it stops me from loving it. Because I was somebody who, whenever I saw the trailer launch, I was ready for it. I watched the trailer like 10 times. I was hyped. So seeing that it wasn't all that I felt it could be was disappointing. And that's why maybe I'm being a little harsher than most people would be, just because my expectations were high. I love Stephen King. I've read several of his books, so I was really psyched to see this coming to light. I think that if they were to work on their storytelling a little bit more, this show can go from being okay to amazing. Anyways, like many reviewers, I do have a review scale in place, which is going to be a 1 through 5. You know, 1 being total garbage that I'd never want to see again, and 5 being one of the best shows I've ever seen. I'll always leave a more detailed description of the review scale down below in the description. And as with any review, these are all just simply my opinions, guys. You know, if you want to go watch a show, you know, if you want to go check out Castle Rock, I encourage you to do so. Even if you didn't intend on watching Castle Rock, I do recommend watching it. I think there's improvement to be made, but that doesn't mean that that's a show that you should just disregard. This is simply an opinion of some guy that's watched a lot of movies and TV, but there's going to be plenty of times where somebody's going to disagree with me. I'm sure by the time I finish several reviews, there's going to be one where you're going to be like, no, you're wrong, and you're allowed to have that opinion. With that out of the way, I'm going to give Castle Rock a 3.5. I wish I could have liked this show more than I actually did, but nonetheless, I'm still looking forward to season 2. Hopefully it happens. I'd imagine it's going to happen. I'm sure people are watching it, and I'm really hoping for a better paced story. If they get that down, it's going to be a show that I absolutely love, and I hope that's the review that I give you guys next time. If you like this video, don't forget to like the video. And if you'd like to see TV reviews in the future, just go ahead and subscribe down below. Hit that bell notification because I'll be uploading weekly. Till next time.